Ever feel like your brain is like playing tricks on you?
Yeah.
Like you're stuck in this mental maze
Yeah.
and you just can't find your way out.
Like a hall of mirrors.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
We all have those moments where like our mental game
Yeah.
isn't exactly strong, right?
Absolutely.
But what if there were tools to like help us navigate these tricky mental pathways?
Oh, yeah.
What if we could like build our own mental health toolkit?
You're in luck.
Ooh.
We're diving deep
Okay.
into Dr. Julie Smith's book.
Right?
Why has nobody told me this before?
Love that book.
It's packed with practical strategies to help you understand your moods,
Okay.
manage your moods, boost your motivation, and even tame that anxiety monster we all know.
Oh, yeah.
And let's be honest, sometimes dread.
Let's be real.
Yeah.
We're not talking about diagnosing or labeling anyone here.
Right.
This is about equipping you with like practical tools to take charge
Yes.
of your mental well-being.
This is for you. Like giving you a toolkit.
It's like a Swiss Army knife
Yeah, a Swiss Army.
for your mind, ready to tackle whatever life throws your way.
Exactly.
Okay.
And since this book is like a treasure chest of knowledge,
Oh, yeah, it is.
we'll focus on a few key areas to get you started.
Okay, sounds good.
We'll explore how to understand low moods.
Okay.
Not just as a feeling, but as like this complex interplay
Okay.
of your thoughts, bodily sensations, and actions.
Yeah,
You know, it's all connected.
it's all connected.
It is.
Then we'll bust some myths around motivation.
Yes.
Ever feel like you're just waiting for that motivation fairy
Oh, yeah.
to like sprinkle some magic dust on you?
Absolutely.
Spoiler alert, it doesn't work that way.
No, it does not. So we'll also dive into practical strategies for managing anxiety.
Love it. Yeah.
Because let's face it, anxiety is a part of life,
Absolutely.
but it doesn't have to control us.
It really doesn't.
And finally, we'll talk about the superpower of self-compassion.
It's not just about being nice to yourself.
Right.
It's about building resilience, especially when you're facing setbacks or dealing with criticism.
It's a game changer.
All right. So let's kick things off with low moods.
Okay.
Dr. Smith drops this like truth bomb in the book that really resonated with me.
Yeah.
She says low mood is often a sign of unmet needs,
Yeah.
not some personal failing.
I love that.
Right? It's like our mind's way of waving a red flag.
It is a signal. It's like, hey,
Hey,
pay attention.
something's not right here.
Something's off.
We need to look at this.
So it's not about beating ourselves up.
Right.
It's about playing detective.
Exactly.
And speaking of detectives,
Okay.
Dr. Smith gives us this fantastic tool called cross-sectional formulation
I love this tool.
I would-
It's so helpful.
to help us decode these low moods.
It is.
What is that?
It's basically a way to break down an experience
Okay.
into its core components,
Okay.
like a puzzle.
You got your thoughts, your feelings, your physical sensations, and your actions.
Yeah.
Cross-sectional formulation helps you see how all these pieces fit together.
So instead of just feeling overwhelmed by like a low mood,
Right.
you can start to untangle the knot and see what's really going on. It's kind of like those crime dramas
Yeah.
where they like map out all the clues on a whiteboard.
Absolutely.
Except in this case,
Yeah.
the crime scene is your own mind.
Your own mind. Yeah.
Exactly.
Love that.
And the beauty of this tool is that it empowers you to take action.
It does.
Okay.
Because once you see the connections
Yeah.
between those thoughts, feelings, physical sensations, and actions, then you can start to pinpoint
Okay.
where you can make a change.
Okay, let's make this concrete for our listeners.
All right, let's do it.
Imagine you just bombed a presentation at work
Okay.
using cross-sectional formulation. What might that look like?
All right, so let's start with thoughts. You might be thinking, I'm so incompetent.
Yeah.
Everyone must think I'm a fool.
Oh, yeah.
And then those thoughts trigger feelings of shame, disappointment, or anxiety.
Yep.
Physically, you might notice your heart racing.
Oh, yeah?
Your palms are sweating,
Mhm.
tightness in your chest.
Oh, I can feel it already.
Yeah.
Just thinking about it.
And then as a result, you might avoid eye contact
Yeah.
with your colleagues or withdraw from social interactions.
Oh, yeah, you just want to, like, crawl under a rock.
You just want to disappear.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. By mapping it out like this,
Yeah.
you can start to see
Okay.
where you can intervene.
So maybe you challenge those negative thoughts
Yes,
with more realistic ones.
exactly.
Like, okay,
Yeah.
I didn't do my best today,
Mm-hmm.
but that doesn't mean I'm a failure.
Doesn't mean I'm a failure at everything.
Right, right. Or perhaps you focus on calming
Yeah.
your physical symptoms
Mm-hmm.
with some like deep breathing exercises.
Yeah, some deep breaths can really help.
The key is to break the cycle
It is.
and find healthier ways to cope.
Absolutely.
And this is where it gets really empowering for you, the listener.
This is where the work begins.
Yeah, think about a recent time you felt low. Can you use this formulation to map out that experience?
Absolutely.
What were your thoughts,
Yeah.
your feelings?
What was going on in your body?
Yeah.
What did you do?
What actions did you take?
Yeah.
It might be surprising what you discover
It might be.
when you really break it down like that.
And again, it's not about dwelling on the negative.
Right.
It's about understanding yourself better.
Yeah.
So you can make more informed choices moving forward.
Knowledge is power.
It is.
And understanding how your mind works
Yes.
is the first step towards taking control
Absolutely.
of your mental well-being.
Yes.
All right, so we've tackled low moods.
He did it.
Now let's talk about motivation.
Okay.
Or rather, the myth of motivation.
Oh.
Dr. Smith throws down some serious truth here,
Yeah, she does.
saying that motivation often comes after action,
Yes.
not the other way around.
I know.
Mind blown.
Right. It's not what we think.
Yeah, it's like we're so used to thinking we need to wait for that burst of inspiration
That lightning bolt.
or motivation to strike
Yeah.
before we take action.
Like the muse is going to visit us.
Yeah.
And we're going to be inspired.
But what if we've got it all backward?
But we have it backward.
Yeah.
We do.
So what's the science behind this?
Okay. So our brains
Okay.
are wired to favor habits and well-worn paths.
Okay.
Think of it like a jungle.
Okay.
Walking along a familiar trail is easy, but carving out a new path
Yeah,
takes effort.
it does.
And that effort
Yeah.
creates its own motivation.
So the more we walk that new path, the easier it becomes.
It does.
And the more motivated we feel
Absolutely.
to keep going.
Keep going.
Yeah.
Momentum builds.
It's like building momentum.
It is.
And Dr. Smith uses this brilliant analogy in the book
Oh, yeah.
to illustrate this.
I love this one.
She compares the brain to a jungle where new paths need to be carved out.
You got it.
It's hard work at first,
It is.
but the more you walk that path,
Yeah.
the easier it gets.
The easier it gets.
So it's all about creating those neural pathways.
Yeah.
Each time you take action, even if it's a small step,
Even a small step.
you're strengthening those pathways, making it easier to repeat that action in the future.
Exactly.
Okay, so this is all very fascinating.
Yeah.
But let's get practical.
Okay.
What does this mean for us in the real world?
In real life.
Yeah. What can we do?
What's the takeaway message for our listeners?
Stop waiting to feel like it, to take action.
Okay, stop waiting to feel like it.
Just do it.
Just do it.
Yeah.
Break those big goals down
Yes.
into smaller, bite-sized steps.
Instead of aiming to write a whole book,
Yeah.
start by writing a page a day.
Just a page.
That's it. Instead of trying to run a marathon, start by going for a walk around the block.
Just get out the door.
Yeah.
That's all you got to do.
And don't forget to celebrate
Yes.
those small wins along the way.
Little wins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rewarding yourself for reaching those milestones helps to reinforce those positive neural pathways
It does.
and keeps you motivated.
It's all about positive reinforcement.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's all about creating a positive feedback loop.
It is.
Action breeds motivation,
And motivation fuels more action.
and motivation fuels more action.
It's a beautiful cycle.
It's a virtuous cycle.
It is.
Okay, listeners, time for a challenge.
All right. What is it?
What's one small action you can take today, even if you don't feel like it,
Even if you don't feel like it.
that could spark some motivation
Yes.
in an area that matters to you?
Like, what's one thing?
Remember, even tiny steps
Yeah.
can lead to big changes.
They do?
Like, what's a tiny step you can take today?
Even something as simple as making your bed
Ooh.
that can get the ball rolling.
Yeah, I love that.
Right?
It might seem insignificant,
Yeah.
but that small act of accomplishment
Absolutely.
can set a positive tone
Yeah.
for the rest of your day.
It can change everything.
So true.
Yeah.
It's like that saying,
What's that?
"Will be gone is half done."
Oh, I love that one.
All right, we've tackled low moods
We did it.
and busted the motivation myth.
Yes, we did.
Ready to face the anxiety monster.
Bring it on.
Okay,
I'm ready.
anxiety is something we all experience,
It is part of being human.
but it doesn't have to rule our lives.
It doesn't.
Dr. Smith offers some fantastic insights and strategies
He does.
to help us manage anxiety effectively.
Yes.
And she starts by explaining anxiety in a way that really clicks.
Okay.
She compares it
To what?
to a faulty smoke alarm,
Ooh.
going off even when there's no real fire.
I love that analogy.
That's such a brilliant analogy.
It is.
Because sometimes it feels like our anxiety
Right.
is completely out of proportion to the
Yeah.
actual situation.
Like that alarm blaring
Like that alarm.
at 3 a.m.
Yeah, at 3 a.m.
because you slightly burnt the toast?
Yeah, or like,
Right.
you open the oven door
Yeah.
and a little puff of smoke came out.
And the whole thing goes off.
Yeah, the whole thing's going
Yeah.
off. Exactly.
Yeah.
And just like a faulty smoke alarm can be triggered
Yes.
by a harmless puff of smoke, our anxiety can be triggered by thoughts
Yes.
that aren't necessarily based in reality.
It's not always a real threat.
Yeah.
It's just our mind.
Dr. Smith calls these thought traps.
Thought traps. They get us every time.
And they can really amp up our anxiety levels.
Yeah, they can.
So let's talk about some of these thought traps.
All right, let's do it.
What are some common ones that our listeners might recognize in their own lives?
One common one is mind reading.
Okay.
That's when we assume we know what other people are thinking, usually assuming the worst. Like, everyone must think I'm stupid because I tripped over my words during that presentation.
Oh, I know that one all too well.
Yeah, we've all been there.
It's like we have a crystal ball.
It is.
That only shows us the worst case scenario.
Right.
Another common trap is overgeneralizing.
Overgeneralizing.
Yeah.
That's when you take one negative event and you make it a universal truth. Like, I failed that one test.
Yep.
So I'm obviously a complete failure in life.
So dramatic. But seriously,
Yeah.
it's so easy to spiral into those negative thought patterns.
Those thought patterns
Yeah.
get us stuck.
And then there are those pesky should
The
statements.
shoulds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That add unnecessary pressure.
So much pressure.
Like, I should be able to handle this.
Yeah.
Or, I should be further along in my career by now.
Right.
Those shoulds can really weigh us down.
Oh, they really can.
Speaking of weighing us down,
Okay.
this reminds me of Dr. Smith's story about the Leaning Tower of Pisa.
Oh, yeah.
She was so anxious about the perceived danger that she found herself crouching on the ground.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unable to enjoy the experience.
It's a perfect example of avoidance.
Right.
Yeah. Even though it seems helpful in the moment, it actually strengthens anxiety in the long run.
The more we avoid something,
Yes.
the scarier it becomes in our minds.
It does.
It's like that monster under the bed
Yeah.
that goes bigger and scarier.
Yes.
The longer we refuse to look at it.
It just keeps growing.
So how do we start facing those monsters, so to speak?
So how do we face those monsters?
Yeah.
How do we get out from under the bed?
What are some practical anxiety management tools?
Okay, well, one powerful tool is slow, controlled breathing techniques.
Okay, like what?
Things like square breathing or diaphragmatic breathing.
Okay.
These can really calm that physiological response to anxiety.
It's like hitting the pause button.
It is.
On your fight or flight response.
It is like hitting the reset button.
I love square breathing.
It's so easy.
It's so simple, yet so effective.
And you can do it anywhere.
You can do it anywhere.
Yeah.
Anytime.
It's like a mini meditation.
It's like a mini meditation.
Yes.
You can do anywhere.
Yeah.
Another helpful technique is mindful observation.
Ooh, mindful observation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of your anxious thoughts. Instead of getting swept away by them,
Right.
try observing them
Yeah.
with distance language.
Okay, so what does that sound like?
So instead of saying, I'm going to fail,
Yeah.
try saying, I'm having the thought that I might fail.
I love that.
It's like creating a little space
It is.
between you and the thought,
Yeah.
making it less powerful.
Yes.
You're not fighting it. You're not fighting it.
You're simply acknowledging its presence.
Yes, you're just noticing it.
And finally, there's the opposite action technique.
Ooh. Tell me more.
This involves choosing to do the opposite
Okay.
of what your anxiety is telling you to do.
Okay.
So if your anxiety is saying, hide under the covers, you get out there
Okay.
and face the world one small step at a time.
You go do the thing.
You go do the thing.
Yes.
It's like flexing your courage muscle.
It is.
And Dr. Smith emphasizes that.
Yeah.
Courage comes before confidence. The more we practice facing our fears, the more confident we become
Absolutely.
in our ability to handle them.
You build that confidence muscle.
So true. It's a gradual process.
It is.
But it's incredibly empowering.
But it's so worth it.
Okay, listeners, I want you to think about one anxiety-provoking situation in your life.
What's that one thing?
It could be a social event,
Yeah.
work presentation.
Or even just asking someone out on a date.
Ooh, scary.
Now, how could you approach this situation differently using these tools?
Think about it.
Even a small shift in your thinking or behavior can make a big difference.
It can change everything.
Remember, anxiety is normal.
It is.
It's about learning how to manage it effectively.
Yes.
Rather than letting it control us.
You have the power.
And you have the power to do just that.
You do. And speaking of facing challenges, let's talk about self-compassion.
Ooh, self-compassion.
Yeah, I love it.
It's a powerful tool for navigating those inevitable bumps in the road.
Yeah.
Especially when dealing with setbacks or criticism.
It's like that inner cheerleader we all need.
Yes.
Especially when that inner critic starts getting a little too loud.
Yeah.
But Dr. Smith emphasizes that self-compassion isn't about weakness or self-indulgence.
No.
It's about building resilience.
It is.
And creating a foundation for growth.
Yes. And there's science to back this up. Okay, tell me more.
Self-criticism actually increases stress.
Oh, wow.
And it keeps us stuck in those negative thought patterns.
It's like that saying, you can be your own worst enemy.
You can.
And sometimes that inner critic can be downright brutal.
It can be so mean.
Right.
But self-compassion allows us to acknowledge our mistakes and imperfections without beating ourselves up.
So we're not pretending they're not there.
No, we're just not making them worse.
Right.
It creates space for learning and growth.
Okay.
Rather than shame and stagnation.
I love Dr. Smith's sports analogy to illustrate this.
Oh, yeah, this is a good one.
She talks about how even elite athletes,
even the best of the best,
need someone in their corner.
Yeah, they need a coach.
To offer encouragement and support.
Absolutely.
Especially when they stumble.
Everyone needs support.
They need a coach who believes in their potential.
Yes.
And helps them learn from their mistakes.
We all make mistakes.
And we can be that coach for ourselves.
We can.
I love that.
The book offers a simple but powerful exercise to help develop a more compassionate inner voice.
Oh, okay.
Imagine a perfect nurturer.
Okay.
Or a coach offering you support and advice.
Okay.
In a challenging situation.
Yeah.
What would they say?
Ooh.
How would they make you feel?
I love that visualization.
Yeah.
It's like tapping into a wellspring.
It is.
Of kindness and understanding within ourselves.
Within yourself.
And I think it's especially important
Yeah.
when we're dealing with criticism.
Ooh, criticism.
Whether it's from others
Yeah.
or that inner critic in our own minds.
Right, because that inner critic can be so loud.
Yeah. And speaking of criticism, Dr. Smith offers some brilliant advice.
Yeah, she does.
On how to handle those stings.
Okay.
Both internal and external.
Both those external voices and the one in your head.
And she starts by pointing out something really crucial.
What's that?
Highly critical people are often highly critical of themselves.
Oh, that makes sense.
So when someone's throwing shade our way, it might not actually be about us at all.
It might not be.
It's more about their own internal world.
Right.
Their own insecurities and judgments.
Yeah, they're projecting.
That doesn't mean we have to be doormats, of course.
No.
But it can help us take those criticisms with a grain of salt.
Yeah, don't take it personally.
Okay, that's reassuring.
Yeah.
But even if we understand the source of the criticism, it can still sting.
It can.
Especially if it triggers those self-doubt gremlins.
Those gremlins, they're always lurking.
And Dr. Smith offers some practical tips for dealing with those stings.
Okay.
She talks about the importance of reality checking.
Oh, reality check.
The criticism.
Yeah.
Ask yourself, is there any truth to this criticism?
Valid.
Is it constructive or is it just someone projecting their own negativity?
Are they just having a bad day?
So we don't just blindly accept whatever someone throws at us.
Don't just absorb it.
We take a step back and assess it objectively.
Think about it.
What about that inner critic we were talking about earlier?
Oh, the inner critic.
How do we tame that beast?
How do we quiet that voice?
When it starts throwing those self-doubt punches.
Yeah, those punches can be brutal.
Well, Dr. Smith suggests minding what you say to yourself.
Oh. What does that mean?
Each time you replay a harsh comment in your mind, you're reactivating the stress response, adding fuel to the fire of self-doubt.
You're just making it worse.
It's like adding salt to the wound.
It is.
So how do we change the script?
How do we change the story?
Instead of berating yourself,
okay,
try talking to yourself in a kind and supportive way.
Be nice to yourself.
Be your own cheerleader, your own best friend.
You deserve it.
Remember the perfect nurturer, visualization.
Yes.
Tap into that compassionate inner voice.
That wise and loving voice.
And offer yourself the same encouragement and understanding you would offer someone you love.
You would never talk to your best friend that way.
It's like that saying.
What's that?
Treat yourself like you would treat your best friend.
I love that one.
And we would never talk to our best friend the way that inner critic sometimes talks to us.
Never.
So we've talked about dealing with criticism, both external and internal.
We have.
But what about when we mess up? When we make mistakes?
We all make mistakes.
How do we deal with failure without letting it crush our confidence?
Failure.
It's inevitable.
It is.
It's an inevitable part of life.
It is part of being human.
And Dr. Smith offers a powerful reframing.
Okay, I'm listening.
You are not your mistakes.
You are not your mistakes.
Music to my ears.
Right.
Because sometimes it feels like our mistakes define us.
They don't.
She talks about the importance of acknowledging the emotional response to failure.
Feelings.
The sadness, the anger, the shame.
Yeah.
Without getting swept away by it.
Don't let them consume you.
It's like allowing ourselves to feel those emotions.
Yes.
Without letting them consume us.
Ride the wave.
It's like riding a wave instead of getting crushed by it.
I love that.
We acknowledge its power.
Yeah.
But we don't let it pull us under.
Don't drown in it.
And this is where self-compassion comes in again.
Okay.
Treat yourself with the same kindness and understanding you would offer a friend who is struggling.
That's what friends are for.
Instead of beating yourself up for making a mistake,
right?
Ask yourself what you can learn from the experience.
Yeah, turn it into a learning opportunity.
So we shift from self-judgment to self-reflection.
Self-reflection.
We ask ourselves,
okay,
what can I do differently next time?
What can I do differently next time?
It's about growth.
It's about viewing failure as an opportunity for growth.
Yes.
Rather than a sign of personal inadequacy.
We're all works in progress.
And it's about remembering that everyone makes mistakes.
Everyone makes mistakes.
It's part of being human.
It is what makes us human.
And speaking of being human, let's talk about another universal human experience that can really knock us down.
Oh, what's that?
Grief.
Grief.
Dr. Smith doesn't shy away from this topic in her book.
No, she doesn't?
She dives deep into the complexities of grief.
Okay.
Offering insights into how to navigate this often challenging emotional terrain.
Grief is tough.
And she starts by reminding us that grief isn't just about death.
It's not.
We grieve the loss of relationships, jobs, dreams, even aspects of ourselves.
We grieve all kinds of losses.
It's the ending of something that held meaning for us, something that was a part of our identity.
It's a big change.
It's like that feeling of emptiness.
Yes.
That sense of something missing.
That hole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it can be incredibly painful.
It can be so painful.
It can.
And Dr. Smith normalizes the experience of grief,
reminding us that it's a natural human response to loss.
Yeah, it's okay to grieve.
It's okay to not be okay.
She also offers some really helpful ways to navigate it.
Okay.
Emphasizing the things that help.
Yeah.
Don't necessarily make the pain disappear.
They don't make it go away.
It's more about finding healthy ways to process it.
Right.
To honor the loss.
Yeah.
And to adapt to a new reality.
It's about adjusting.
So it's not about pretending the pain isn't there.
Yeah.
We're trying to rush through the grieving process.
You can't rush it.
It's about allowing ourselves to feel those emotions fully.
Let yourself feel it.
And finding healthy ways to cope.
It's a process.
Exactly. And she talks about the stages of grief.
The stages of grief.
But emphasizes that they don't always happen.
Right.
In a linear order.
They don't.
There's no right or wrong way to grieve.
It's a journey.
It's a unique and individual process.
Our grief is your own.
For our listeners who might not be familiar with the stages of grief, could you give us a quick overview?
Absolutely. So there's denial.
Okay.
Where we might resist the reality of the loss.
Okay.
Then there's anger. Where we might lash out at others.
Yeah.
Or at the world.
Like that initial shock wave?
It is.
Of disbelief and rage?
It can be really intense.
Exactly.
Then comes bargaining.
Okay.
Where we might try to negotiate with a higher power or make deals to undo the loss.
It's that desperate plea for things to go back to how they were.
Yeah, we want to go back in time.
And then comes depression.
Depression.
Where we might feel overwhelmed by sadness and despair.
That heavy sadness.
That's that heavy sinking feeling of hopelessness.
Yeah.
And finally, acceptance.
Acceptance.
Where we begin to make peace with the loss and find ways to move forward.
It's not about forgetting.
Right.
But it's about integrating it into your life story.
It's not about forgetting or pretending it didn't happen, but rather integrating it into our life story and finding a way to live with the loss.
Living with that new reality.
And Dr. Smith emphasizes that these stages aren't a checklist.
No, they're not.
But rather a framework.
Right.
For understanding the emotional landscape of grief.
It's a guide, not a rule book.
So we might not experience all the stages.
You might not.
Or we might experience them in a different order.
You might.
The key is to be patient with ourselves.
Yes.
And allow the process to unfold naturally.
It's your journey.
Absolutely. And Dr. Smith offers some really helpful tools for navigating that landscape.
What are they?
She talks about the pillars of strength.
The pillars of strength.
Which include things like nurturing our relationship with ourselves.
Self-care.
Expressing our grief in healthy ways. And finding meaning and purpose.
Yeah.
Even in the midst of loss.
Meaning and purpose?
Those pillars provide a foundation for rebuilding our lives.
They do.
After significant loss.
Yeah.
They're like those sturdy beams holding up a house.
Oh, I like that.
Providing stability even in the midst of a storm.
Beautiful.
And remember, grief is a journey, not a destination.
It's a process.
It's about finding ways to honor the loss.
Yeah.
To take care of ourselves and to continue living in a way that feels meaningful and authentic.
Living your truth.
So true. All right. We've explored a lot of heavy topics so far.
Yeah.
Low mood motivation.
Yeah.
Anxiety, criticism, confidence.
We've been through it all.
Even failure and grief.
Yeah, hard stuff.
But Dr. Smith also talks about something that's often missing in our quest for mental well-being.
What's that?
Happiness.
Happiness.
Not just fleeting moments of joy.
Right.
But a deeper sense of fulfillment.
Lasting happiness.
And she reminds us that happiness isn't the absence of negative emotions.
It's not.
Life is full of ups and downs.
It is.
And it's impossible to avoid.
Yeah, you can't avoid the hard stuff.
Those challenging experiences altogether.
You got to go through it.
It's more about accepting the full spectrum of human experience.
The good, the bad, and the ugly.
The good, the bad, and everything in between.
It's all part of it.
It's about learning to ride the waves of life.
Yes.
Both the exhilarating ones and the turbulent ones.
You got to ride them all.
Exactly. And she challenges the idea that happiness is a goal to be achieved.
Yeah.
Something that we can check off our to-do list and then coast on forever.
Like it's a destination.
It's more of a byproduct of living in alignment with our values.
Alignment.
Of making choices that feel authentic and meaningful to us.
Yeah, living your truth.
So she encourages us to identify those values. To get clear on what truly matters to us.
What matters to you.
And to use those values as a compass for our choices and actions.
It's that.
It's about creating a life that feels congruent with who we are at our core.
Your authentic self.
Okay, listeners, time for some introspection.
Okay, get your journals out.
What are your core values?
Yeah, what matters most?
What kind of life do you want to create?
What do you want your life to look like?
And are your current choices reflecting those values?
Are you walking the walk?
It's a powerful exercise.
It is.
To really check in with yourself.
Yeah, check in.
And make sure you're on the path. That feels right for you.
That feels aligned.
These are important questions to ask ourselves regularly.
They are.
Because it's so easy to get caught up
in
the busyness of life.
The hustle and bustle.
And lose sight of what truly matters.
Yes, we can get off track so easily.
So we've talked about values.
We have.
But how do we actually translate those values into a life that feels meaningful and fulfilling?
Yeah. How do we make it happen?
It's one thing to identify what's important to us.
Right.
But it's another thing to actually live it.
To actually do it.
That's where the rubber meets the road, right?
That's where the magic happens.
And Dr. Smith suggests focusing on the process of living in alignment with our values.
The process.
Rather than on achieving specific outcomes.
Yeah, the outcome.
It's about enjoying the journey.
Yeah.
Rather than just fixating on the destination.
It's not about the destination.
It's like that saying.
What's that?
Enjoy the journey, not just the destination.
I love that one.
Because sometimes the destination isn't what we expected.
Right.
Or the path takes unexpected twists and turns.
Life is full of surprises.
Exactly. And she offers some really helpful strategies for making this happen.
Okay.
She talks about the importance of breaking down big goals into smaller, more manageable steps.
Break it down.
Because let's be real, those big audacious goals can feel overwhelming.
Yeah, it can be so intimidating.
It's like trying to climb a mountain
Yeah.
in one giant leap.
One big step.
We need to break it down into smaller, more attainable steps.
Smaller steps.
And she encourages us to cultivate a growth mindset.
A growth mindset.
To embrace challenges as opportunities for learning and growth.
Challenges are opportunities.
So instead of seeing setbacks as failures, we see them as valuable feedback that can help us course correct and move forward with greater wisdom and resilience.
You learn from your mistakes.
So instead of getting stuck in that cycle of self-doubt and self-criticism, we choose to learn from those experiences.
Yes.
And keep growing.
Keep growing.
And she emphasizes the importance of self-care.
Self-care.
Of making time for activities that nourish our physical, emotional, and spiritual well-being.
You got to take care of yourself.
Because we can't pour from an empty cup.
That's so true.
So true.
You can't give what you don't have.
We need to replenish our own reserves.
Yeah.
So we have the energy and resilience to navigate the challenges of life.
Fill your cup.
Absolutely. And finally, she talks about the power of connection.
Yeah.
Of nurturing meaningful relationships with others.
Yeah.
Because humans are social creatures.
We are.
And we thrive in connection.
Yes, we need each other.
Those relationships provide us with support, love, and a sense of belonging.
It's what makes life worth living.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So listeners, I encourage you to reflect on these strategies.
Think about it.
How can you incorporate them into your own life?
Yeah. What can you do today?
How can you create a life that feels more aligned with your values? A life that feels more meaningful and fulfilling.
Living your truth.
Great advice. And speaking of meaningful relationships, in the final part of our deep dive, we're going to explore how to build and nurture those connections.
I can't wait.
That bring so much richness and joy to our lives.
The good stuff. Relationships are like these intricate tapestries, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Woven from threads of shared experiences, laughter, tears, everything in between.
It's the good and the bad.
They can be sources of immense joy and support.
Oh, yeah.
But let's be real.
Okay.
They can also be a source of stress and heartache.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's like that saying, the course of true love never did run smooth.
It never does.
And Dr. Smith doesn't shy away from this complexity in her book.
No, she doesn't.
She dives deep into the dynamics of relationships.
Yeah, she gets into it.
Offering insights into communication, conflict resolution, and even those fascinating attachment styles.
Oh, the attachment styles.
That shape how we relate to others.
Yeah, they're so important.
And she starts by debunking a common myth.
Okay, what's that?
That relationship success means staying together at all costs.
No.
Sometimes letting go is the healthiest choice.
It's true.
Both for ourselves and for the other person.
Sometimes it's the best thing for both people.
It's like that saying, if you love something, set it free.
Yeah.
Sometimes the most loving thing we can do is to let go.
Let go.
And she emphasizes that healthy relationships require a balance of closeness and independence.
Yes.
It's about respecting each other's individuality while nurturing the connection.
It's a dance.
It's about being two whole individuals who choose to come together.
Yes.
Rather than two halves trying to become a whole.
Two whole people.
So it's not about merging into one blob.
No.
But rather dancing together.
Yeah.
Allowing space for both connection and individuality.
Connection and space.
And this is where understanding attachment styles can be so helpful.
It's like a roadmap.
It's like having a roadmap to understand our own relational patterns and those of our partners.
And the people we're in relationships with.
Okay. Attachment styles 101.
Okay.
Break it down for us. What are these different styles?
Okay, so there are 3 main attachment styles.
Okay.
Secure, anxious, and avoidant.
Okay.
These styles develop in early childhood based on our interactions with our caregivers.
Oh,
but they continue to influence how we relate to others throughout our lives.
So it's like a blueprint for how we approach intimacy, connection, and vulnerability.
All the important stuff.
Secure attachment is considered the ideal.
Okay.
Where we feel safe and confident in our relationships.
That sounds nice.
We're able to trust our partners, communicate our needs effectively, and navigate conflict constructively.
Like a dream.
Sounds lovely. But what about those of us who didn't win the secure attachment lottery?
Oh,
what if our early experiences left us with a bit more baggage?
Some baggage.
In the relationship department.
No, for those with anxious or avoidant attachment, relationships can be more challenging.
Okay. In what way?
Anxious attachment can lead to clinginess,
Okay.
a fear of abandonment, and a constant need for reassurance.
Okay.
Avoidant attachment can manifest as emotional distance, difficulty with intimacy, and a tendency to pull away when things get too close.
So anxious attachment is like, don't leave me.
Yeah.
And avoidant attachment is like, get away from me.
Basically.
I see.
The good news is Dr. Smith doesn't just label these styles.
Oh, okay.
She offers practical advice
good.
on how to navigate them.
Okay. Give us some of those juicy tips.
Right.
How can we move towards more secure and fulfilling relationships, regardless of our attachment style?
So for those with anxious attachment, she suggests practicing self-soothing techniques and working on building self-confidence.
So it's about regulating those intense emotions and finding a sense of security within yourself rather than relying solely on your partner to provide that for you.
You have to find it within yourself.
So it's about becoming your own secure base, so to speak.
Exactly.
And for those with avoidant attachment, she encourages taking small steps towards vulnerability and opening up to connection.
It's about challenging that urge to pull away and learning to lean into those uncomfortable feelings of closeness and intimacy.
So it's about recognizing that vulnerability isn't weakness.
Yeah.
It's actually the key to deeper connection.
It's the key.
But even with a deeper understanding of attachment styles, relationships can still be tricky.
They can.
What other tips does Dr. Smith offer?
Well, she provides a ton of helpful advice.
Okay.
She talks about clear communication, expressing your needs directly and respectfully, and listening attentively to the needs of your partner.
So it's about putting down those boxing gloves.
Yeah.
And picking up those listening ears.
Listen to understand.
And she emphasizes the power of empathy, of putting ourselves in the other person's shoes.
Yeah, walk a mile in their shoes.
And trying to understand their perspective.
Even if you don't agree.
Even when we don't agree with it.
Exactly.
And she offers strategies for resolving conflict.
Yeah.
In a way that strengthens the relationship.
Okay.
Rather than tearing it apart.
You want to build each other up.
It's about focusing on finding solutions that work for both partners.
Compromise.
Rather than trying to win or prove a point.
It's not about winning or losing.
It's about remembering that you're on the same team.
Yes.
Even when you're disagreeing.
Your partners.
And perhaps most importantly, she reminds us that relationships are a two-way street.
It takes two.
It's not about finding the perfect partner.
No one's perfect.
But rather, choosing to show up as our best selves.
Yeah.
And working together.
Yeah.
To create something meaningful and fulfilling.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
So it's not about waiting for Prince Charming or Cinderella to sweep us off our feet.
Fairy tales are fun.
It's about being active participants.
Yes.
In creating the kind of loving connection we desire.
You have to put in the effort.
And remember, just like any skill, relationships take practice.
Practice makes progress.
The more we invest in learning and growing, both individually and together, the more fulfilling our connections with others will be.
It's so true.
Well, we've covered so much ground in this deep dive.
We have.
Into Dr. Julie Smith's book, Why Has Nobody Told Me This Before?
It's a great book.
We've explored everything from decoding low moods and taming anxiety to building confidence, navigating grief,
the tough stuff,
and nurturing fulfilling relationships.
Yeah, it's all in there.
It's truly a treasure trove of wisdom.
It is.
And practical tools for building mental well-being.
Yeah.
And creating a more meaningful and fulfilling life.
She gives you everything you need.
I highly recommend that you check out the book for yourself.
Yes.
It's full of even more wisdom and practical strategies.
Yeah, good stuff.
Than we had time to cover in this deep dive.
I know, I wish we had more time.
And remember, you are not alone on this journey.
You're not alone.
We all struggle with our mental health at times.
We do.
The key is to reach out for support, to equip ourselves with the right tools.
Yeah, the power.
And to keep practicing, keep growing, and keep moving forward.
Love it.
Okay, listeners, that wraps up our deep dive for today.
See you next time.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep taking good care of yourselves.
Take care.